Welcome back. Orphans Aid International is a charitable trust founded and run by people who care about the marginalised and disadvantaged among us. Co-founder and CEO Sue Van Streven features in a documentary, The Orphan Lady, which follows her journey into Romania and her efforts to help abandoned children. The Orphan Lady will be screening on tvCentral, and we caught up with Sue to hear more. Welcome to the program, Sue.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So when you first initially went to Romania, what kind of went through your mind?
Well, I was afraid to start with of finding children and not knowing how to help them. I was afraid of finding a kid in a really bad situation and not being able to do anything about it. But of course, things unfold gradually. And the first time that we did see children in a hospital abandoned, we were at that point of actually being able to set up a home. So you saw the first children and you had the power to either change their life or leave them. So it was quite a defining moment because you're making a decision, am I going to help these children or am I just going to walk out of here with some photos and say that was sad? So, you know, when you've got the power to actually bring change to a child's life who's, you know, really within the prison bars of a cot, you really have to do something about it.
So when was the orphanage set up?
So that was back in 2004 when we first met those first children, and 6 weeks later they came into our home, affectionately known as Casa Kiwi, which many people would have seen on documentaries. And yeah, so 2004, so we're coming up to our 10th year, and yeah, it's just been wonderful to see the children being fed through the home, and especially some of the children that we've had there right from the start. They really feel like family, and it's so lovely to see them develop and just to know their lives have changed.
So how many people have you got working in the orphanage?
So at Casa Kiwi we have a team of mums, and they're great mums. In fact, one of the girls at our home, she says, I love the mums here. And so there's a team of 4 mums that rotate so that they're through the night there as well. And then we also by law are required to have a social worker and a health professional and some other staff that we need. So we've got about a team of about 8 there in Romania, but the work that the home is doing is much wider than the actual house. So we're doing a lot of work within poor communities as well, trying to see children, make sure they're in school. There's a lot of children abandoned in the hospitals. So what we're trying to do with the children that are left in the hospitals is find, is there any family members that can take care of them? Do paperwork on them so that we can get them out of the hospital, because a hospital cot is no place for a child to live. You know, you think about children or infants that you know, to have children living in a cot for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they're not a child. You know, they become, well, they are a child, but they become deformed. They develop some really huge problems. So, yeah, there's a lot of needs.
So for those who don't know, I mean, the backstories to Romania, why are these children being abandoned?
Yeah, well, it does go back a long way. You know, under communism, Romanian families were required to have 4 or 5 children, and if they weren't having them, they were examined as to why they weren't having children. But of course, the community was poor. People couldn't look after the children, so they were given up to an orphanage. So, you know, for children to be put in an orphanage, you've got really extreme situations. So there was extreme things going on. So people were giving up their children to hope that their child would be fed, that their child would be warm. So then, of course, the orphanages weren't being looked after properly and became this overcrowding. But the problem that we have now is 2nd, 3rd generation orphans. So the last child that we took into our care just last week, one of the children, just an infant, its parents were orphans. So this child was born and put in a state orphanage. She's just come to our home, and you know, hopefully we can find a good permanent home and break that cycle.
So how many orphans do you have in the orphanage so far?
Yeah, well, we're involved in different countries now. So in Romania now, we've helped about 55 children. So we've got 10 living in the home, and we've got about another 10 in foster. And then we've had children that we've placed either with families or they've been adopted. So that's really cool, especially when you go and see them, and you see them a few years later and they're doing so well, especially when you see where they've come from. They've come from a real hopeless situation, now they're in families, you know, so that's just so good. In Russia, weekly we're reaching about 60 children there through a day centre where they come, and with children from the street, children from orphanages, so that's really exciting what's happening in Russia. And in India, where I've just come back from, We're feeding about 500 children a day, and we're reaching about 600 children, throughout the week. So that's really snowballed in India, but it's so good to see. It's so good to see that kids that even just a few months ago who were really malnourished are actually looking, much healthier now, and have got some good role models around them and some good caregivers around them, and protecting them too, protecting them from predators on the street, yeah. And other places we're really interested in and are just beginning to be involved is in Uganda.
Oh wow, what's happening in Uganda?
Well, we're connected with some Kiwis in Uganda, and just looking at how we can help strengthen families to keep their children with them. So actually have a look on our website and you'll be able to read more about that. So all our projects are on our website, orphansaidinternational.org.
And what goes into the logistics? 500 kids to feed in India. What goes into that, logistics of it?
Yeah, well, of course, that's been building up over 6 years, and you start things slowly and small because, for one, you've got to build trust and relationship with the knowing who's feeding and knowing that the money's been spent the right ways, but over time it builds and grows. So there's actually 11 different centres involved in Calcutta and in the further north, Yangon, which is sort of way up by Bhutan. So yeah, there is a lot of logistics, but we've got some really good people on the ground, really good people who are giving a lot of themselves, bringing rice, giving and some of them, I think, seriously, they deserve a medal because the sacrifice that they're putting into it personally, and the meagre amount that we give them, is going, I'm really multiplying it. So it's really exciting. And we've just got a new opportunity in India, just come up in the last few weeks, where at the Bhutan border is quite a lot of refugees who don't belong to Bhutan, but they're not Indians either, so they live right at the border. So just a couple of weeks ago I was there, and we were actually gifted a piece of land so we can build a school which will be a feeding program, and it'll be a place where people come for daily food and of course to learn as well, and medical. We'll have the doctor come and visit. So that school is really exciting, so that's our next project that we're raising funds for.
The Orphan Lady will be screening on tvCentral on Tuesday the 24th of December at 10:30 p.m, Thursday the 26th of December 12 p.m, and Friday 27th of December 7:30 p.m. So make sure to tune in. Coming up next, Christmas budgeting.